Metabolism is the overall summary of chemical reactions happening in a biological system. And I wanted to mention, for the purposes at least for this video, the thermodynamics of these type of reactions. And then lastly, just the classes of reactions that we have, with just the classes of the pathways that we can use. So there's two types of I guess, forms of metabolism, right? Or two different types of classifications of metabolism, and this is catabolic metabolism and anabolic metabolism. Catabolic metabolism is where we're going through the process of we're taking polymers and we're going to break those polymers down into useful energy. Whereas an anabolic reaction is a reaction that is taking monomers and we're building polymers out of it and we're consuming energy. Okay, so for the thermodynamics of it, as we talked about earlier, we can have spontaneous reactions and non-spontaneous reactions. And the thing that's so important to understanding metabolism is usually we're taking thermodynamically unfavorable reactions and we are going to combine those with reactions that are thermodynamically favorable. And this is like how we're able to do these reactions in such a small amount of space like our cells and still be able to have useful products and useful reactants. We're going to take a favorable reaction, one that has a delta G that has a very negative value, and we're going to combine that with an unfavorable reaction which has a positive delta G value. And hopefully at the end of the day, the negative will outweigh the positive and the overall reaction, the delta G, hopefully if we've done this right, will have a negative value to it. So one of the things that we may want to consider about this is that this overall reaction, this overall total delta G value of here, doesn't really care about the intermediates, right? So if I look at my delta G, well, what is my delta G dependent upon? My delta G is dependent upon two things: the energy state of my reactants and the energy state of my products. What we usually will display this as a straightforward thing with one activation energy barrier, but it doesn't have to be this straightforward, reaction processes like this. Sometimes, especially when we consider biological systems and the way that we do things, at the end of the day, all that we really care about for delta G is the reactants and the products, and that's the only thing that really determines the directionality of your, ultimately the directionality of your reaction, right? We can alter the concentrations of our reactants and products, but what we can't alter is the delta G of our reaction. So when we do this, when we couple this favorable with an unfavorable reaction, it could look like this. I'm being comically exaggerating these things a bit, but at the end of the day, what is we measuring? The reactant energy state and the product energy state, and that's what determines the delta G of your reaction, and that ultimately determines whether or not the reaction is spontaneous or not. So this is kind of a trend that you're going to see appearing over and over and over again as we talk about metabolism.